The most important takeaway is that product-led growth is not a silver bullet. Now, out of all the founders that I interviewed last year, only one of them had made serious use of product-led growth, and that was David Kelly from AppSumo Originals. I think the danger with product-led growth is that a lot of first-time founders, particularly technical founders, hear that term and they assume that it means that, oh good, I don't need to do any marketing now. I can just build it and they will come. It's kind of that whole rehashed idea again. I haven't had Wes Bush on the show, by the way. I would love to. If anyone's watching this and they know Wes, let me know. I'd love to reach out and hopefully get him to come on and talk a bit more about his angle in terms of product-led growth. But from what I've seen, I think there's a real danger that some founders hear that term and assume that it means that they don't need to do any marketing. And I cannot tell you how many products I've seen that were awesome that nevertheless failed because they just couldn't find any customers. So out of all the founders that I interviewed last year, only one of them was making serious use of product-led growth. And admittedly, he was probably the most successful. So David's doing about $13 million a year at the moment. That's not one product, though. That's across a suite of products. So AppSumo Originals does stuff like BreezeDocs, which competes with DocuSign. They have SendFox, which competes with MailChimp and a lot of other email marketing platforms. And they have TidyCal, which is like a Calendly alternative. Now, what's interesting about David's strategy is that he deliberately picks red oceans. He deliberately picks spaces that have a lot of big competitors because he sees that as validation. And what he tries to do is he makes a product that is sort of a stripped down version of it that is way, way, way cheaper. Usually he sells it on a lifetime deal instead of a subscription basis. So he does it for a really low price as a lifetime deal. And what's interesting about that is that he deliberately picks spaces and industries that have a natural viral component to them. So this is the key thing that I think makes product-led growth work. You need to pick the right space or the right industry for it, the right product category. It's not something that is universal that you can apply to anything. So I think the key takeaway for me is I think product-led growth can be really successful in certain circumstances if you tick all the boxes. But the danger with it that I see is a lot of people hear product-led growth and they try and shoehorn it into their business model or their industry, and most industries just don't work that way. It's not really suitable for them. So I'd be a bit cautious about it unless all the stars align and you happen to be in a space where particularly a product is being used to communicate with either lots of coworkers, lots of customers, lots of suppliers, someone else who is likely to become a customer of your product at the end of the day, and that communication is essential to the value proposition of the product. Okay, second thing on my list is that the impact of AI on content marketing and SEO is really changing things. Content is still king. Most of the people that I interviewed are doing content marketing. That's either their main channel or one of their main channels. I think a lot of first-time founders rush and spend money on ads, and that almost always ends up with them just pissing lots of money away. Wouldn't recommend it. And I say that as a guy who cut my teeth learning how to do paid ads and conversion rate optimization. That was kind of the first skill set that I learned. But content marketing is really where it's at in terms of SaaS. However, that's changed enormously over the last 12 to 18 months with ChatGPT and the rise of all the and Claude and all the AI tools that are popping up now. So there's a couple of interesting insights about that. The first one is that there are all these tools that have popped up that are making it easier to do content marketing. And it's basically just ChatGPT with a shitty little wrapper around it to make it easier to write blog posts or write cold emails or write something else. The problem with that is that now the internet is awash in so much AI-generated content that both Google and human users are having a really hard time filtering out the good stuff from all the crap that's out there. And there is so much more crap out there now. I did an interview with Nenad Lazarevich, who's an absolute beast at SEO, and he ran a few tests on this, and he found out that Google doesn't penalize AI-generated content per se, but Google does penalize low-value content. And so the overlap between those two things is that a lot of AI-generated content tends to be pretty low quality. So if you are just using ChatGPT to generate a blog post and hitting publish without going through and really comprehensively editing that blog post, you're probably going to be able to make some headway in the short term, but there will come a time when that is going to catch up with you and that's going to be really, really ugly. So I would strongly urge you not to just ChatGPT, blog post, publish. There's still got to be a human lay in there. There's still got to be a human, quality control to make sure that the article itself is useful to the people reading it. It's not just purely written for SEO. And you can spot that a mile away. You can spot it. I can spot it. Everyone can spot it. The second really interesting part about how AI is affecting content marketing and SEO came up in my conversation with Lars Lofgren. So Lars is a really interesting guy, like a really, really accomplished marketer. He used to be the head of marketing for Kissmetrics at one point. And when I spoke to him, he'd been building this affiliate business that was doing many, many millions of dollars a year. And it was all tumbling apart now because of the changes that Google had made to the way that they're dealing with AI-generated content. Lars called it the Wild West. He said it is batshit crazy at the moment. And so the key takeaway from that conversation is that I think in 2025, it's almost impossible to distinguish an SEO strategy from a Reddit strategy, because Reddit is the big beneficiary of all of this AI stuff. And there's two reasons for it. The first reason is that Google is having a hard time figuring out what content is legit and what content is not, because there is all this AI-generated content being posted on the internet now. So Google has adapted their algorithm, and they're really prioritizing results from Reddit because they're more likely to be user-generated. At the same time, we're seeing it from the other end. Humans are trying to filter out all the AI-generated crap. And so what you're seeing is a lot of search queries now that have Reddit on the end of it. So, best gym clothes for a 40-year-old man, Reddit. Best sports shoes, Reddit on the end. Because they don't want to read, 10 different derivative blog posts that are all written by AI. They want to go through and see an actual human making a recommendation. And so between those two forces, all that is kind of converging and pointing to Reddit being, the depository of all wisdom, I suppose. That's where everything is leading towards. And what's interesting about that is that a Reddit moderator or the moderator of a subreddit has an enormous amount of power, because they decide what content gets seen by Google and what content doesn't. So to a very large extent, Reddit is SEO in 2025. And I don't think that you can have an SEO strategy that ignores or neglects Reddit because of how things are shaking out. Now, that's not always going to be the case. It might be a short-term kind of temporary situation, but something to be mindful of if you are developing an SEO and content strategy for 2025. Reddit probably needs to be a part of that. Hey, it's Ryan here. If you liked that video, please click the like and subscribe button somewhere down there, and check out the full interview right over here. Go on, click it. You know you want to.